Okay, I want to give you a little reminder about the metric system here. So, first of all, in the English or the imperial system that you're more familiar with, um, when we measure, let's take the example of length. Suppose I measure length of different objects. If I measure the length of a small object, I might use inches. If I wanted to measure the length of a longer object, now this is English units, if I wanted to measure a large object, I might use feet or yards. And if I wanted to go for a very large object, I might use miles. Unfortunately, feet, yards, inches, and miles all have kind of funny conversion factors between them. And it makes for a big mess when you want to go from very small objects to very large objects. Physics is a study of things that are extremely small and also extremely large, and so we don't like to change around units all the time when we look at small and large things, so we have an easier way to do it, and that is with the metric system. The metric system, instead of having different units for measuring small things and measuring large things, they just have one unit for measuring things of all sizes. For length in the metric system, you use meters, and the length of a meter is just about the same as the length from one corner to the other of this screen. It's about the same as the length of my arm. A meter stick is something you're all familiar with, so that's a meter. It's a little bit more than a yard. Now when you measure, there's another important measure which is in the metric system, which we also use in our system as well, which is time. And the basic metric unit of time is the second, and you know how long a second is. Now there are some other units which are kind of derived from this, and I want to describe how that works. But first let me point out how you get large things, how you can measure large things and small things very conveniently with meters or seconds. For seconds you would use short times or long times. So before we go on, we will talk about, well, let me finish this list here first of all. Mass is another real important thing that we measure often in physics. And the unit for the metric system is the gram. And another one which is common is volume, and the unit for volume is the liter. These are the most important and the most common of the metric units that we're going to be using. Now, in order to measure large things or small things, let's just take the example of length. If I want to measure something which is very short, I might want to use a smaller unit than a meter. And so what we do is we have a bunch of different units which are derived from meters. So here are derived units. What we do is we take the meter, this is our basic unit, and then we add a prefix. So let me take the example of a centimeter. This is a prefix. Okay, now what does centi mean? Well, you might recall that 1 cent in terms of money is equal to 1/100th of a dollar. Well, the word cent is actually a word which means hundredth. So let's change centimeter, and let's find out what centimeter actually means. Well, I'm going to take the word centi, centi means 100th, or I could write hundredth. So if I could replace the word centi with hundredth, and I could write centimeter is the same thing as hundredth of a meter. Now suppose I don't like this ratio here, and I'd like to find out instead how many centimeters are in a meter. Make a little more room here. Well, I can find out how many centimeters are in a meter by multiplying both sides of this equation by the number 100. Suppose I multiply this by 100 over here. Now if this is an equation, I'm going to have to do the same thing to both sides of it. So I'm going to multiply this side by 100 also. Now let's look at this 100 here and this 1/100th. Here I've got 100 on the top and 100 on the bottom, and I know that I can cancel those two things out. So I can write the following: 100 centimeters, now I'm going to abbreviate centimeter as cm, is equal to 1 meter. The 100 over 100 canceled out, so that's 1 meter. Let's try another derived unit. Another common one is kilometers. Kilo is the prefix here, and kilo means 1,000. So a kilometer, I could write 1 kilometer. I can just take out the word kilo and replace it with the number 1,000. So I get 1 kilometer would be 1 times 1,000 meters, which is 1,000 meters. Let's try a little bit more complicated one. We'll still use kilometers.